Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, motion to approve the agenda. Would someone like to make that a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Josh. And is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
I don't know that it matters much, but typically the language is in past tense. Number 10, item 10, Carol Geary and Richard Clark both take the time or took the time.
Oh, we're doing agenda
Agenda
first.
first.
But hang on to that.
So sorry.
Okay, how about the agenda? All in favor?
All right.
Okay. All right, public input and announcements. Would you guys like to speak to the board?
No, we're just here to observe.
Oh, okay,
I
great,
could
welcome.
introduce myself.
Yeah, why don't you? That'd be nice.
I'm John Sheehy. I'm a resident of Clarendon and alumni from Class 82.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And,
I'm Monica Sheehy, Clarendon resident and class of 87.
all right, well, welcome. Glad to have you. Okay, we do have a letter that, is there anybody online? Sarah, you might want to mute your mic. Gray, you might want to mute your mic. Thank you. Is there anybody online who would like to address the board for public comment? Right, I don't see anybody. Okay, we have a letter that was submitted. I'm going to read it. Dear members of the board, my name is Kelsey Sheehy, and I'm writing on behalf of the graduating class of 2020. I served as our class president, refounded our Student Government Association, and was a student school board representative while at MRUUSD. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend this meeting in person due to my graduate qualifying exams, a prior academic commitment, but I appreciate the opportunity to have this statement read during public comment. I'm here to ask the board to reconsider, or at a minimum, pause the prior action involving the class of 2020 funds so that the board can fully consider the unique circumstances surrounding those funds and explore a fair path forward. After reviewing district materials, I understand that policy C1 regarding class funds was adopted in August 2025. I also reviewed the approved minutes from October 15th, 2025 board meeting, which reflect a motion to transfer remaining class funds from the classes of 2020 through 2023 into the Mary C. Bride Scholarship Fund, following discussions with reps from those graduating classes. I want to note that I only became aware of this action recently through a fellow classmate, and I was not contacted or consulted prior to that decision. These remaining funds raised by the class of 2020 were not surplus or leftover money from completed events. They were raised specifically for senior year milestones such as prom, graduation, project graduation, and related activities. Due to the abrupt end of the 2019-2020 school year as a result of COVID, those events were canceled, and a significant portion of the funds were never used. At the time, there was an understanding communicated to class leadership that these funds would be preserved for the class of 2020 to use toward a future reunion once circumstances allowed. While I understand that this understanding may not have been formally documented at the central office level, the absence of written documentation should not disadvantage the class, particularly given the unprecedented nature of the school closure and the reliance on guidance provided by school leadership at that time. I would like to address the suggestion that the funds be spent by July 1, 2026. The intent for these funds has always been to support a 10-year reunion for the class of 2020. An accelerated deadline would not be feasible or consistent with that intent, nor would it allow for meaningful planning and participation. In addition to that, my current involvement in my graduate studies would prevent me from planning an event on a shortened timeline. It is not realistic and would undermine the purpose for which the funds were preserved. I want to be clear that this request is not an objection to the Mary C. Bride Scholarship. The scholarship is meaningful, and I believe many members of the class of 2020 would support its mission. However, the issue before you is not whether the scholarship is worthy, but whether funds raised by and designated for a specific class should be repurposed without that class's knowledge or consent. With that being said, I would also like to redirect the thoughtful suggestion made by Assistant Superintendent Jody Stewart-Ruck to ask for donations at the upcoming Mill River 50th anniversary celebration for the class of 2020 reunion to be an opportunity to fundraise for the Mary C. Bride Scholarship instead of having to redirect funds raised for specific class purposes. Finally, I want to acknowledge and respect the district's concerns regarding liability and jurisdiction. I understand that this is a complex situation and appreciate the continued time, communication, and consideration given by the board. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Kelsey. Okay. All right. So we have board discussion of public comment. Does anybody?
And we have this specific letter, but the conversation for this is number 9 on the agenda already, right?
Okay. Correct. So do we want to, does anybody want to comment before we comment? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay. All right, now, approval of the minutes from 1/21/26.
So moved?
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
A minor,
You had,
just a minor, number 10, just to be in, for the sake of consistency, verb, Carol Gary and Rich Clark both take the time, maybe took the time, just to keep everything into the past tense.
thank you. And I had one, under the ad hoc, where did I see it? Supervision. Okay, under number 12, committee report, superintendent evaluation. No, that's not the one. Oh, I know what it is. Sorry. Under the superintendent's report, number 8, in the final sentence, it says, Superintendent Gonzalez also shares that she wants to create district-wide improvement goals based on the information that's gathered in the surveys. The ad hoc committee will put together. It's not an ad hoc committee, so if you can take ad hoc out of there. That's mine. Anybody else have any changes?
And just looking at E under number 12, that says superintendent evaluation. And it says they met previously before the board meeting. Who is they?
The committee. It should just add supervision evaluation committee.
Okay, so that needs to be there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rebecca, see that on number
12E.
12E? Just put committee at the end of superintendent evaluation. All right, anybody else? Anything? All right, all in favor? Okay. Unanimous. All right. All right. Thank you. Sean, you're up. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna share my screen and see if we can make all that work. Can folks see my slideshow?
Yes.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Feel
You
free to
guys
come
can
over
move your
here.
chairs.
Yeah, sorry.
Like,
Yeah. That's probably a better place to sit.
All right. So what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about the goals and where we're set at the beginning of the year and kind of where we are along that pathway. Folks should have received the newsletter, The State of the Mill River, so feel free to take a look there. We try mid-year to get updates from all the departments, all the clubs, to really just kind of celebrate and also remind folks of the work that's happened midway through the year. And there's lots of cool stuff in there, so feel free to take a look through that at your leisure. So our first goal for the year was really to think about behaviors. Behavior reporting for us starts at the teacher level, classroom situations that pop up. Over the last couple of years, we've shifted our data collection systems from a Google form into a more organized, data-driven system. Over the course of the year so far, behaviors are linked based on kind of the impact of the behavior. So a tier 1 behavior is really student-centered, it's classroom-based. Tier 2 is something that might involve the entire classroom, and tier 3 would be the building or a kind of critical or safety incident. So numerically, we've seen a little bit of an uptick in tier 1 behavior in the classroom, largely part of a cohort of folks coming in. Big picture, what we've seen over the last 2 years is a really steady decrease in upper tier behaviors. So from last year at this time, we're looking at roughly a 50% decrease in tier 2 and tier 3. So we're seeing a substantial drop in behavior that would result in either major classroom disruption or suspension or safety to the district. We can link backwards to a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of years, one of which was having a behavior interventionist join our team. Shannon Barone brings an incredible amount of skill. It's let us really think about how we support kids earlier, and that's really been our push over the last couple of years, and even in particular this year. How do we help support students earlier? How do we identify them? How do we help get them in a place where they can be supported and be in a positive learning environment? And so, and then also coaching teachers related to how to handle kids who might be in unique circumstances. It's been a positive outlook there. For the cohort that's been kind of on the uptick, that happened mostly in the first 2 months of school, and so we're also in a substantial downtick after that, just cumulatively. So we'll see how we end the year, but all of these are really positive things from our situation. Our second goal was to tackle chronic absenteeism. I know that that's been on the board's mind. It's also been a statewide conversation. Chronic absenteeism per the state is missing more than 10% of possible school days for kind of any reason. There are many, many different ways we code absences, but missing school is missing school. And so the idea there would be if you miss more than 2 months of school, you are likely chronically absent. Mill River over those last 5 years has stayed pretty stagnant in terms of its chronic absenteeism. Largely due to dedicated faculty who help support these students. What we've seen so far, we are looking at, so we set a goal for 5%. We've exceeded the target. At this point, we're looking from a 30% last year down to a 23% right now. We'll see how it is for the end of the year. Truthfully, it gets a little murky right now and gets pretty busy. Part of what we've been doing here is a few things. We started early outreach this year. In the early days of the weekly newsletter I send out, we had an attendance corner, just kind of giving factoids. Feedback we were getting is sometimes people didn't realize just how many days add up to an educational experience. We had sort of well-meaning parents who really didn't think about what, two days over the course of a month, then over the course of 6 months, and it turns into. So some of that was education. We work really hard to do individual person-to-person outreach for kids who are chronically absent, and supporting them also through our truancy process. So what we've seen is parents are coming in earlier. We've been working through problems that families have been having, whether that's lack of resources or needing some coaching, which has been helpful too. We partner with Barge in Rutland to help support some of our students in those cases. So we've seen a decrease, which is awesome. And we're very happy about that. So sharing that there. To give you an idea, kind of in real numbers, we're talking about 30 kids less this year that are chronically absent than last year. So those numbers can look 7%, may not feel like a whole lot, but 30 kids is a lot of kids who are not yet chronically absent, and we're hoping to keep it that way. Also, for what it's worth, 7th grade has great attendance, which is wonderful, unless they're feeling a little squirrely. So it's been an interesting dynamic difference there. All right, and then just want to talk about, there we go, testing. So we have an internal testing system called STAR. Historically, we've done it twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. We added a third testing window in the winter to get an in-between stage this year to get a sense of kind of where things are at. Historically, most folks will find that winter STAR testing data goes down. We just finished the window. What we found is we hit our 3% goal in math already, which is awesome. We didn't see a decrease there. And we saw kind of a clear through line in English sort of staying stable. And we will continue on. Kind of process-wise, why is that? How are we doing? We've been working really hard through our scheduling system. We have flex twice a week in the high school to let students go back to meet with their teachers as they need, which has been great. Middle school does the same thing. We also have labs, a variety of different levels of support related to work completion. We've been working really hard to try to target skill gaps for kids to find additional levels of success. STAR is great as an internal metric because it lets us also on the back end diagnose learning gaps. So it's helpful for an individualized situation to see where kids are having specific skill problems. And then many of our teachers will go back and try to work through some of those specific learning gaps for the kids. And so we're seeing positive growth in that end, which is great. Lastly, school culture and belonging. 42% of our students are currently engaged in music. It's slightly over half of the middle school and about a similar amount in high school. So these are folks who volunteer there and choose to be in our music program, which include 13 ensembles, both before and after school they volunteer for, which is great. And we're also appreciative of all the parents who cart their kids here in the early mornings and the afternoons. This fall, we had 45% participate in athletics across the school district. Winter sports have gone up a little bit to roughly the 50%. It's like 50.2, which is great. Energy is really positive. If you've been to a boys basketball game recently, those stands are really full, which is amazing. And they've been largely positive. We've had some really great games and some nail biters, which is awesome, except for the parents in the stands who are like, oh my goodness, are we gonna win, are we gonna win? But it's been a good year, and what we've seen too is a real revitalization of what it means to be a Minuteman, and a lot of those conversations happening. It's a small thing, but our basketball team has started dressing before a game again, which again seems like a sort of maybe a little bit of an outdated thing, but it feeds back into community pride and how we present ourselves, which has been, I think, a really awesome opportunity for our students to again re-engage in those conversations. What does it mean to be a student athlete? What does it mean to be a Minuteman? How do we want to walk through the world? Which is a conversation that I have and Chance has as well with our student body, which is great. And we also have a gigantic snowboard team who did really well yesterday. Last count, I believe, is a little over 35. Mr. Roach and I were talking about him starting the team years ago with 3 kids and a prayer, which is cool. And if you get a chance to walk the hallways in an afternoon, you will likely find a student who is skateboarding, which is a little bit weird and funky until you realize it's a skill they then put on the mountain, and because they're really involved and invested there, which is great. The other thing I wanted to throw out is that this year we reorganized how we did pep rallies as spirit events. COVID kind of killed a lot of those activities, and we have really spent a lot of energy and time how to build those out. We had a pep rally last week. It was glow in the dark, which was unique and interesting for everybody. And a lot of fun was had. It's really cool to see the stands full of kids who are excited to be there and giving space to be silly and age appropriate. And then we had the dance. We had about 100 people at the dance, which was great, which is always an entertaining experience to watch a group of high schoolers socialize and I don't know what we want to call it, but dance, we'll just go with that. It is a unique activity. We're working on some middle school dances as well as we kind of roll that up. So there's been some cool spirit events. We're talking about what spring's going to look like. We'll see how it goes. There have been some conversations about like a kind of half-day field day situation. We'll see how the weather holds and kind of see how we feel in April. It's great to ride the high off of a big event and we get big ideas and then life happens, but we'll have another one to support our students, which is great. Questions? Yeah.
Just to coming back to this absenteeism, catching it early and you're having the meetings with the parents and such, is it idiosyncratic? Are there just 1,000 reasons why people are, or is there any through lines with nothing?
Every situation is uniquely different. There was a statewide conference a couple of months ago that Cheryl and I went to. The running theme across the entire state is everyone's dealing with it. Everyone's trying really hard to figure it out. Our numbers are not really different than anybody else's numbers. That like 30%-ish rate is pretty typical. We're doing better in that our numbers are stable versus going up, essentially, like with a higher rate of chronic absenteeism. So different districts have tried different things. You got to kind of respond. Every individual family just has different needs and different reasons. And we try our best to kind of meet them where they're at.
I read maybe last week that maybe the state's going to come out with some new mandates around how you are supposed to be dealing with it, because I think it is the state problem. And it's not going to be funded, so they're going to tell you to give positions and things. One of my questions is, I read the newsletter that came out, and I read, every week I read those. When you send those out, do you get information, like when we do a newsletter for like our farm or something, like it says like how many people opened it and things like that. So in general, do you have an idea of how many people are actually engaging with those emails? And
roughly 300 plus or minus.
Yeah. And how many do you think you send out? Like how many do you send out, do you think?
So that's a little confusing, only in that like it's every individual student email, including the kids sometimes. Yeah. So it goes out to roughly 500 people. Okay. It's about a 50% kind of hit rate, which from my end actually feels pretty good for the most part.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
Usually I'll get an email or two back of like, hey, cool article, or hey, great picture, which is wonderful. It also depends, frankly, if it's a busy news week or not. So some of them are, frankly, just kind of nuts and bolts stuff, and then there'll be days like the one I just sent out. I think the top end ever was like 600 views, and it was like kind of chocker block full of stuff. We try to add in more things as we go, but like, sometimes a Tuesday in February just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to make sure that that those metrics were being measured to make sure we're not, because it's great to keep getting information out there, but making sure it's in an effective way, because everyone's spending a lot of time on doing it. So
SMORE, which is the platform we use, gives like really complete numbers. It also tells you where they're coming from. It also gives you kind of some outlook about like what are they looking at, what buttons are they clicking on. For a while, I was doing like a survey a week just kind of for giggles. No one was kind of doing it. We've tried a few different things. We're always kind of looking for new suggestions.
I appreciate all the communication that Bill River sends home to parents as well as the board. One thing I do struggle with about this S'mores app is you can't respond to it. One of my biggest frustrations when I read anything sent out by the district is there's no email link that's clickable to respond to the sender. Speaking just for myself, but I'm guessing other parents and community members who get these publications, could we embed clickable links in there to respond? If I want to respond to this state of the school thing, I have to go and key in your email. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not there.
If you hit the reply button, will that bounce back to me? So people do that a fair chunk.
I'm pretty sure it does not.
Okay.
Because again, it's
yeah, happy to put in some
yeah,
easy links.
I think that would be helpful just across the board.
Yeah.
Often though, the SMORE link is embedded from Sean's email.
I don't believe that's the case, but
Yeah.
right, but it's.
I can happily
Hit reply to the emails I get. It does not go to Sean. I've tried.
I'm also happy to problem solve if you want to, but I can put
Yeah, sure. No, I'm pretty tech savvy.
Yeah.
I don't believe you can respond to emails sent via SMORE directly.
Okay.
So what are the consequences for the severely truant students?
So there are legal consequences related to when we have to send in an affidavit to the state. That's after the 20-day mark, and we've done our due diligence on our end. That's kind of the upper end. Our approach is always going to be that we want the kids to be here. How do we offer them what they need to be here? And for a lot of our kids, there are social emotional things going on. And so what we're trying to do is say, hey, what's the problem coming in? And there's usually a kind of a concrete set of reasons. We're going to try to support those reasons. So we're not going to necessarily say tell a kid who's been out for 2 weeks, hey, your first day back, you're suspended. Like that's not how we approach it. And again, for the most part, we have kids who are who just need help, to be honest, over and over again. It's not sort of a explicit non-compliance problem. It is much more nuanced than that. And that lines up a lot with what other districts do in terms of really trying to help support them. We want the kids here, we want the kids learning, and we try really hard to
So
work with
do
that.
some of them fail?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're not, I mean, if you're gone for 2 months, there's not a lot we can do there. We're always eager to help the students in those circumstances. You know, if a kid comes back because they've been out sick with, you know, a situation, we're going to help support them, obviously, you know, and see where we're at there. We do rely on parent communication to keep us in the loop as appropriate, and our teachers are willing to bend over backwards and into pretzels to help support student learning. So we figure it out as we go.
So what portion, I mean, it seems like if 30% of your students are falling into this category of severe absences, what percentage of those don't pass into the next grade?
I'd have to look at that information for you. I don't have it on the top of my fingertips.
Is it a lot?
I would say probably not, because when we think about those chronic absenteeism numbers, those include all possible absences, including things that are medically excused. Like that's just a big number, right? We want to make sure we support them. And also, not for nothing, many of our students who have the flu for 2 weeks or have COVID for 2 weeks are being supported when they get back, you know. Those students who are kind of missing in action for long periods of time are not the vast majority of that 30%-ish number. Those are a much smaller number of people. And when we get back in, we work really hard to build an attendance plan. Cindy Jarvis, who's our attendance coordinator, spends a lot of time to build support networks in, as does Barge in Rutland, to offer counseling and parenting and all of the things to make sure that the kids get back in. And that's been largely successful.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I saw on there with their chronic absenteeism, it's excused or unexcused, right? So just like recognizing, like, January was bonkers, right, with illnesses and kids having to be out for like a whole week because of that. And so, and I think since COVID, right, parents are often on the more conservative side, and a lot of schools are encouraging them to be with keeping kids home. So like just factoring that into some of what we're seeing across the state.
And for us, it's really just a conversation related to lack of like learning loss or learning opportunity loss, and how do we plan for that a bit? You know, when a student's out for 2 weeks, we have to keep in mind that 2 weeks of instruction is a lot, and also communicating home too. You know, again, a day here or there because I need a sick day or I'm having, you know, I need a personal day. Just reminding folks and encouraging students, I think, has really been a positive, you know, approach and a positive intervention. And we'll keep going kind of that route.
Thank you, Sean.
Wonderful. As usual, just as my parting shot, a couple shout outs. I know I do this every time. So we had a pep rally. Our faculty are amazing, and I really appreciate them a whole lot, and I think they just needed a minute for shout out. On the left, we have 3 of our wonderful teachers engaging in some of the races going on. It takes a lot of chutzpah to put a helmet on and be dragged by 2 of your peers around a racetrack to the excitement of 400 kids. So those are really awesome. In the middle is Libby McPhee, who has graciously volunteered to don the costume of the Mill River Minuteman. It is really hard to see in there, and she is excited about it, which is wonderful. I tried to wear the thing once for Spirit Day, and it lasted about 3 seconds. I am not built for this thing.
It's also very hot.
It is very hot, and as we have had a couple of kids in there, styrofoam just smells bad forever.
Yes.
So we'll just kind of leave it, and Libby is like there to do it. And then lastly, Peter Roche, if you've not met Peter Roche, does literally everything in this building, and if I have a minute to just publicly appreciate his work. He went from helping support the pep rally planning that day, waltzed, having the band play, and then suddenly he's DJing at night until 9:30 and another hour and a half of cleanup, then going to the mountain the next day, and then also endlessly just awesomeness. And so I try really hard at the end of my board presentations just to point out a few folks who might not know 100% of what they do to contribute to the work that we do. And he looks pretty good when he's glowing in the dark. So we appreciate that a lot. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, full disclosure, it seems the email does work to get back to you.
No worries at all.
I admit it. It didn't work before, it does now. So I'll admit it, it's working.
I'll put in an email link anyway, that way folks can get back to us either way.
Yeah,
That way it's just
still,
easy- that way you don't have to
the
go anywhere.
response does work.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I was going to tell you about that.
It didn't used to, it does now, so I'll admit when I'm wrong.
All right. Okay, superintendent report.
Okay, I will do this quickly. I try to send it out early so that you guys can read it, and then I'm not reading to you, and then if you have any questions. Our district-wide continuous improvement committee is right on target. I'm feeling good about this as far as we'll be ready to send out a survey to the different stakeholders after break. Our leadership team meeting, we discussed there was new guidance regarding students and their immigration status. We discussed that at our leadership team, and we have protocols and procedures in place. I do want to say there is also, state of Vermont has, I forgot the wording, but like temporary guardianship for parents who may be in that situation, that they can give their guardianship to another person in the event they are not able to care for their children. Woo-hoo, we got our local foods incentive grant. We were approved on that. Apparently, it was, a lot of people asked for it, so they did say in there that the grant would be reduced by about 10% because we had so many people apply. They said it might change depending upon when they look at qualifications later on, but we at least have 13.5, so that's a good thing. Transportation, I'll start and then it'll lead into the conversation. So when I first started here, I mean, it was clear that transportation is a big issue for us. We've been working through it. We did try to look at all different options, so I reached out. We did put an RFP out there. We got 2 proposals. I do not see any advantage to us outsourcing busing at this time. I see a lot of potential pitfalls for us should we, 5 years down the road, decide that we don't want to do this, or even 2 years down the road, when we no longer have our bus fleet anymore. You can see in there the things that they did put in that to me made it even more so of a non-starter. Both of them were contingent upon our drivers going. If I had drivers, I wouldn't need to outsource it. I'm just going to say that, right? Our drivers have been clear that they want to stay here. They do not want to work for another company. I do recommend that we do not enter into a contract and we continue managing it. I just recently spoke to Chance. He has put out feelers with a local company to see for drivers who want to just do the sports in the afternoon, see if we can get some of them to do that. That's our biggest issue, is if we have a game and we have, say, someone calls out sick or takes a day off, that really hampers our ability to do it. But on a regular basis, as long as we have everyone in, we're good to go. And even Chance has been working with Sean, and we've been trying to move our games later so that it doesn't interfere with our runs. So I'll leave it at that. And then if there's any questions here about any of this, or we can move into a discussion on transportation. But anything with my report, if you want to.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, move on.
Okay.
So we funded a new driver in the next budget. Right?
Correct.
And so is that
Well,
gonna help if you fill
if I can fill that position of a new driver, that really would solve a lot of the issues where if someone is out. We're on a tight, we only have X amount of drivers to cover all of our routes, so we are fully staffed. It's when someone takes a day off or calls in sick or, quite frankly, I realized after I did it the first time, if I call a 2-hour delay, that means Clarendon bus route will be canceled because that driver has another job, so she has to go to that job. So that also factors into my thinking
Field
in the
trips.
morning. Field trips, if our field trips go between school hours, we're good to go. So there was a lot of, I was disappointed in, well, I shouldn't say that, but I was in the proposals, to be quite honest. I felt like it will cost us a lot more money, and there's no guarantee that we'll have a driver.
There's not really any benefit.
Yeah,
It
no.
doesn't seem like there's much of a benefit.
There's no benefit to it. And when I looked at, both of them were looking for us to enter into a 4-year contract, and I just did a quick, how much of an increase over the 4 years. One was a 24% increase, the other one was a 27%.
Annual?
No, over the
Oh,
4
over the
year.
4, okay.
But that's
Yeah,
a lot,
still a
right?
lot, yeah.
And then after that, we are in a position where we no longer have buses, right? And we're not going to be able to spend $1 million to get a new fleet.
Then we have to continue, yeah. We locked in at that point.
Yeah, right, that's the problem, then we're locked in. I did a lot of conversations informally with superintendents in the area. We all have issues with getting drivers, and that's the biggest thing. And if your things are contingent or you want my drivers, I can't guarantee that, and I've been very clear with that. No, I can't promise you anyone. People have free will, but if I could get drivers, I wouldn't even be looking. One of them wanted us to pay, because they will be paying our drivers less than what we currently pay, and they wanted us to pay the difference until the person either retires or resigns. So that was a non-starter for me.
I resigned pretty quick.
No, you know what I mean? So if I'm going to pay the difference in salary, there's just no, we're actively trying to get drivers. At this exact moment, we're in a good spot. That could change, right? With our drivers, but, and I do know one of them is retiring at the end of the year. So we're already starting to, I told Tim, put stuff out there. We will figure something out. If we get a bite, we're going to do what we can to make that work.
I was just gonna ask, I also don't wanna go to an outside vendor, but I'm just curious how that burden is landing on Tim as the interim transportation coordinator and facilities manager.
It has been a burden for him. He does have Kim Maneri, who's doing a little bit of the work. She's doing a lot of the data entry. I was sharing at the Personnel Committee meeting. We are hopeful that we can get that position filled. We had a lot of applicants for an administrative assistant, and maybe we might, see if somebody's, kind of interested in that position. We're no longer going to look for a CDL. We just need someone to manage it. And so we may be reworking that position, right? But it has been hard on Tim.
Could I offer a thought around bus drivers? I was talking to a bus driver, works in Rutland. I don't want to give his name, of course, but he's from out of state. Ended up moving up to Vermont. Was basically retired. Wanted a second job. So it might be useful if we're looking for jobs to look into postings for people out of state who might want to move to Vermont.
Okay.
Like, again, like this is a gentleman who, had a career, was retirement age, had, wanted to come up to this area, liked the area, and didn't want to work full-time, but was able to drive, already had a CDL from another career, And, I don't know how we would cast that net, but I think maybe looking at people might want to relocate in that semi-retirement phase might be a way to tap into people who wouldn't otherwise be thinking of us, but if the opportunity arose, they might bite.
Can you ask him where he saw the,
He didn't come up specifically to drive, but he moved up to the area and then got the job driving.
okay.
But I'm
I
saying if
didn't
we
know
seek
he
out
had-
those, if we
Yeah.
like maybe look to cast a wider net,
Yeah.
we might find like a certain these people who want to relocate and want a part-time job, who supplement retirement or things like that, who maybe already have the qualifications, but they aren't local. So,
Right. Okay.
just a creative idea, I figured.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
also-
absolutely. That's why I was wondering if there
Yeah.
was a certain
I
publication.
wish there
you'd
was.
Seen it in, because,
But I mean, this is someone who worked in like trucking,
yeah.
who retired
Yep.
and was bored.
Yep, and that's the perfect part-time job for them.
Exactly. So again, maybe if we look,
And the
south,
hourly
we-
salary is good.
Yep, where the people
Very
are,
good.
not so much here, but like,
Yeah.
yep.
And for me, it seems like it's very nice to have full staff, but it's actually the subs that are the problem.
Yes.
Because no matter how many positions we have, if we fill them, we still have a problem. And so if we don't have a Connie, and if Joe doesn't drive, there used to be two subs in the building,
Right.
potentially, and now, every time we don't have a sub in the building, it makes it that much harder. And so I know basically makes it almost impossible to fill a job. But giving up that CDL, I totally understand why to do it. But it is like a very large hindrance, I think, to the being able to actually function on given the chaos of Vermont.
Yeah. We are also looking for subs, but they,
Oh, I know, it's the same problem of,
Yeah.
they have to be in the district already
Yeah.
and have to want to do it, and nobody in the district wants to do it. So I understand that
right.
it's very hard.
Yeah. But we will continue working on it. So even though I had put, it does say discussion action, I don't think we necessarily need an action. It's just my recommendation at this point that we're not going to move forward with it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need an action, no.
I'm kind of disappointed because I really did want it to be,
Want
work
it
out
to
for
work.
us that way,
Yeah.
so. Okay.
Okay, so now, we'll talk about the class of 2020 funds.
I am going to, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Karen.
no, I was gonna say, how do you wanna address that?
Well,
And
I
was
am
gonna turn it over
going
you.
to give it over to Jody, because she has had contact with the individual who's questioning it and who wrote the letter, so I think she's better poised to speak to it. You wanna,
You wanna unmute, Jode?
and
Jody?
start, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you just give them like an overview and your recommendation and?
Sure thing. So I just want to remind the board that this action was taken back in, I believe, October, at the request of the class advisors and a variety of Mill River school staff who did, not talk to the person who wrote the letter was the class president. They just talked to, representatives of that class that were still around here. I do want to say that I did circle back to the class advisors, and their recommendation is to continue with the board's action as it was done. They feel strongly that that's what they would like to do. So at that time we made that motion, I have been talking back and forth with the individual that wrote the letter. It is her recollection, and I believe her, that she had a conversation with an administrator at the time that they wanted to hold on to that money for a future reunion. The problem with that is that we shouldn't really hold on to money for long periods of time in a without like a set date for when we're gonna use it. It's different to spend money for a school event that either, if it's off school grounds, we have the purview, we're like in charge of students, or it's on school grounds where our insurance covers us. So the person that said, yeah, no problem to her, I don't think, they never talked to central office and they didn't understand that it's a potential liability for us to have money from a school account used for an off-school grounds event where we have no power over the people that would be going to the event because they're not school employees or students. So it puts us at a potential liability. So I've been talking back and forth with the person about like this dual problem of the board's already taken action. There's not any specific plan to create a reunion. It could potentially be a liability, and then just trying to come up with some sort of option. So something I brought up was, well, could you do something this year, and could you do it on school grounds? That doesn't seem like it's really going to be feasible. I brought up, would you like to ask the board to remove the action, but then donate the money to the reunion, because that's already a school sanctioned activity. The individual asked if there's any way to transfer that money out of a school account to a private account, which there really isn't. So it's just kind of a quagmire. I would be really concerned about just leaving the money in an account and then potentially having a private event off campus with money that came out of a school account. And that, that's not to say that it isn't really a shame for those kids who didn't get to get their graduation. And I feel for them, but from a district standpoint, that just seems like it's not potentially feasible for us.
Jody, when alumni organize class reunions and they raise funds for that, does the school have any role?
No.
What? Wait, I'm sorry, can you say that one more time, Rich?
I think Cheryl just answered me.
He asked if if the school or the district has any role in reunions when they fundraise. No. So once they are graduates, they are no longer in any way affiliated.
Right, and so.
Yeah, we don't put that into a school-based account. If it's coming out of a school-based account, it helps us in. And this money was not raised for a reunion either. It was raised for a graduation that couldn't happen.
And recently, like, we took the booster money out of a school fund. Like we said, you can not, you've created a nonprofit, and it's your job to organize it.
Correct.
And then there wasn't as much liability and auditing and stuff on our part anymore. So like that is a thing that's occurring at the schools, through concession sales and things like that. That money's going into a private account, but it didn't. Instead of going through it, but even then they're still students, so it's still not quite the same thing, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead,
How
Greg.
much money are we talking about? Just remind me, please.
Yeah, so let me give you the exact number. While I'm looking it up, let me just say, the problem too is that, so the individual is just arguing for the best interests of her class, but not necessarily able to take on an entire project. So there's no one person in charge of this either, should the board reverse their action. So the specific amount is $8,213.
Well, that is a lot of money, but I think that they're trying to change the rules in the middle of the game. And especially given the issues, the liability issues that, Jody, that you raised, I think if they want to have a 10-year reunion, they can fundraise for it, as that time period approaches. And they're asking, we're multiple years after the event, and all of a sudden they're saying, oh, wait a minute, we want to do this with our money. Well, it's really kind of late in the game for that. So my view would be to stand behind the board's basic decision.
Josh.
Just to be clear, we actually didn't have a policy of what would happen to money that was left over. And so we had to make, the reason we moved that money is because we made the policy that said when there's money left over, this is what will occur to it. So there was
Yes,
no
but
clear
the policy
right?
only says, from 2024 on, and then we did a single board action for the years before.
Right.
But I think to Josh's point.
But the reason we did that is because there was no policy and we had this remaining money just in a variety of accounts, which was fiscally problematic.
Yeah, we didn't change the rules. There were no rules. Right.
There were no rules. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dad.
I guess my question is, and it's perhaps just water over the dam at this point, but I don't understand why we wouldn't have reached out to class presidents as our first contact.
We don't really keep like postgraduate contact information in that respect, that we would have somebody's contact information like 6 years beyond. I mean, I wish we would have the HR capabilities for that, but we really don't.
That's also.
Like, that would be more alumni association work. Sorry.
No.
I'm sorry about the screaming. It's Kat.
We can't hear her now. That's also part of the reason why there's a warning for policies and a second read. It gives people the opportunity to.
This was not a policy change, though. This was a single board action. There would not have been a warning for that, would there?
It would have been included on it.
But just as an agenda item.
Right.
Dave?
So is it possible for a class to raise funds while students are enrolled at Mill River over their 4 years and have those funds not go into a school administered account? So in the future, if students did come into a situation like this again, we wouldn't be in a position where the board would have to create either temporary action or follow a policy that would essentially appropriate those funds for a school activity. In other words, if students get together and have bake sales and all this and that, can those funds be housed outside of, since they came from the community, the school's financial system, right? I know activities accounts are kind of a gray area, but they're still under the school's oversight. Is it possible for clubs to set up, or student organizations to set up accounts that are not under this umbrella, should something like this happen again?
I think
So that could potentially lead to a variety of other.
Right, no, I understand that, but do you see what I'm getting at here? Like, it is $8,000. I understand the board liability is what it is. I understand that we've taken an action. It may be too late on this situation, but moving forward, are there steps, and I don't know, that we can do to potentially prevent situations like this from happening again? But it's not taxpayer funds going into to fund a dance. It's community funds coming into a student group. Or is it impossible?
So, I mean, at this point, we have a board policy that states clearly that any remaining funds from the class that they don't spend will go into the following classes' class funds.
Right, no, I understand that, but that assumes that those accounts are housed by the school, in the school system. What I'm asking, is it possible for there to be additional, like, parallel funds that are not administered by the
I'm
school?
sorry,
Or is
David?
that against school policy?
David, I think that would be a question for Stan.
Okay.
Because I think he would be able to tell us
Sure.
why or why not.
Yeah, that's fine.
that
I
happened. So
see
maybe we
Stan's
can-
present,
Or even
so-
Yeah.
returning.
Is Stan there?
If it's not possible, that's
Or
fine.
an
I'm just
attorney.
curious.
Stan, do you have any insight into that question?
He's coming.
You coming over?
Yeah, he walks over.
I mean, if it's not, that's fine. I just
And I mean, I think this is
don't know.
a unique situation because of COVID. That's why there's all this money, or they would have spent it, you know,
I understand that as well, but
so.
can't predict pandemics.
One thing is, they wouldn't be a nonprofit, they wouldn't be so anybody that gave money wouldn't be a donation, it would just be somebody giving money to
Right.
some private organization. And I don't know, public-wise, how comfortable public would be in giving their money to kids with nobody
Right.
monitoring the situation.
Right.
Right, you need someone to establish that too.
Yeah.
Right. And then they would have to establish their own account, get their own federal ID number.
So essentially, no.
Essentially, no. Is it possible? Yes, but essentially,
Functionally, no.
yeah.
And it would have to, it would be a new creation for each class.
Yeah, no, I
right? Where
understand.
it's like the booster is the example of that, right?
Exactly.
They went out and did the work to make their, the nonprofit or the LLC, whatever they formed, and then it's like, it's their job to do the due diligence of it. But it's long-lasting, right?
Yeah. So class,
Unfortunately, this is an unfortunate situation where, the communication stopped at, the student and the advisor level. If he had come to the central office, we would have said, no, you can't do that. You either A, got to decide to do something with that money, to either A, give it to another class, or B, give it back to the students in the senior class.
That's the other issue, is it sounds like it was an administrator who's no longer here, along with, the class advisors don't remember, but she's saying the administrator, and then like it should have come to central office level.
Right, or we could have brought it to the board if they,
Or board,
if they
but at
didn't
least-
like our answer.
Right. I'm sorry, I
No,
interrupted
I know
you.
Sarah's hand is up too.
Oh, go ahead, Sarah or Gray.
Yeah, it's actually great. We're sharing the same feed. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, in answer to your question, David, I mean, certainly it was possible that students could get together and raise money on the side, but they're doing it under the name of Mill River and under the district. And I think at that point, we have a responsibility to exercise a certain amount of control and oversight of what they're doing, which isn't to say that they couldn't do it, but it's probably not a good idea. And so I think in practical terms, the answer is no. They can't do that. They're out using the districts and the school's name. They're raising it ostensibly for some kind of school-related activity. So, we have to work within the system that exists.
Okay, so one more comment, and then I'm going to call for an action or no action. Okay, so go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge, because we didn't, that Kelsey's parents are here, and I
That's what I was
recognize
wondering.
that this is I'm sure close to the heart, and I realize that we're having to address it from, legal standpoint of what we have to do as the board, and just recognizing this, it was a very thoughtful letter from Kelsey, and I'm sure there was so much work put into raising that money, and that was a really hard year. That spring, that they missed out on all of this, and I'm sure it kind of feels like now it's another thing that they were expecting that's not going to happen. So I just wanted to acknowledge that
Yeah.
we're not taking this as we're not brushing over all of that piece.
Yeah, oh, it's hard. It's definitely hard. Okay. So, in terms of process, I think we would need a motion to take an action. So if,
Gray wants
And I just want to make one more comment in sort of going along with what Kim said. I totally acknowledge that the person obviously put a lot of thought into that letter. But we also talked to other members of that class who thought that what the board's decision was a good one. And we really have no idea, no scientific measurement about what the majority of the class would like us to do with that. We don't have that information, and that's probably impossible to get. So while I totally recognize the validity and obviously the heart and thought that went into that letter, that's one person's opinion. And I don't think that we can allow that to rule what our decision is.
Just for the clarity on if there is a motion so from what Jody said and from what Stan said, it doesn't, I don't know what the motion could be if
Exactly.
we wanted the class to be able to have access to the money is my problem.
So from my understanding, you could make a motion to reverse the action to donate it to the Mary Bride Scholarship. It would then stay in that account, and then it would be the action of representatives of that class to work with administration to find some way to spend that money that would be within reasonable liability. Or you can choose no action, and then it will go into the scholarship fund.
Yeah, that's.
It's already in the scholarship fund, right?
Correct.
Right.
But it's just an account, right?
It's
So
an account.
It's an
It can be
account that we
moved around.
control both ways.
Yeah.
So,
So Stan, do you,
so is there actually a road that is a reasonable time frame and is something that would actually be able to work with our liability and all of that? So basically, I mean, so in my mind, it's a function that happens in our building is like the only way that it really works. And just to try, I'm just trying to really be clarified, because I feel very bad for these kids. And I'm just trying to actually see it, because a lot of times we don't actually have the power. Like, I want to do the right thing, but the right thing doesn't actually exist. So I want to make sure that we're not making a motion that we make the heart motion, but then it doesn't actually
It can't even be.
do, and then we
fulfilled.
have to just do this reversal again. So, just for Stan, for your point of view, do you actually see a way forward where they could spend some of this money in a reasonable amount of time, which reasonable is like a few years or a year, like it's a
Less
short
than
amount of time that they could, where we would be okay?
Yes, I mean, and to be fair, they were probably told the wrong information
Yeah.
at the time. And maybe they, with everybody there in that class, they could have thought of something different to do with that money at that time. Right now, it's not hurting anybody sitting where it is. It's currently in the student activity account still. I think, within, if you want to say within a year's time that, they come up with another idea as to what that class wants to spend that money on for, that I don't see a problem with that.
So I would like to make a motion that uses Jody's wording of working with the administration, and I would like, but with the caveat of saying within a fiscal, like within, I don't know what the time frame is, but to actually have a plan, a concrete plan by a certain date or a certain time, like from a year from now, that they have a plan. And if there is no plan,
well, how about
It
saying
goes back.
FY '27,
yeah.
by the end of FY '27, which would be July 1, 27, right? That would be the end of FY '27.
That's not a full year.
Yeah.
It's a little over a year, like a year. and-
It's a little over a year. It's from, July 1, 26 to July 1, 27.
So I made the motion, so now we need to second it, and then we can talk about it.
I'll second.
Okay,
Question?
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that, just because I'm trying to understand the motion, that is to have a plan in place by the last day of FY '27, not to have spent the money?
That is the motion that I made, correct?
And
Excellent.
that's okay. And
Thank
that
you.
money can sit in that account. Because my,
If the board approves it, we can, the
Okay,
board is
'cause-
the overseer of the account.
I was
overseer of
under
that
the
money.
impression that it needed to be moved out of that account for some reason.
Well, now
I
it-
might have,
Well, now it does per policy, it has to be.
but not,
this-
yeah, but
But that was
not.
that class was accepted from the policy.
Yeah, because policy started this year. Okay,
Great.
go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the sentiment behind the motion, but who gets to make the decision about where the money gets spent? There is no class organization that exists anymore. The class is dispersed. So who gets to decide, and how do we know that that actually represents the majority opinion of the class?
I think that's why we've called for a plan, because they could obviously organize as classes do of alumni, and put together a plan
They-
that is
Yeah,
representative.
They've had 5 years to organize.
But that wasn't
They've been
the
off to
assumption.
college, and they've been doing other stuff.
They thought it was for a 10-year reunion, though.
Right. And even if they didn't, it's I feel like the wording is with the administration, and if the administration doesn't feel like, if it feels like it's just one person who's thrown a party for themselves, they won't say that that's an acceptable use of that money.
Right. So maybe we could amend your motion to say for a plan approved by the administration.
Yeah, I think that's right. So you
I
want
accept that amendment. yes.
Okay.
Would it also be money that isn't spent after this event reverts to the scholarship fund as well? So they have one chance to do one event within this window of time? Is that what I'm understanding?
Or submit a plan.
Right.
If they don't, the event might be, I guess.
Well, it's with, so whatever,
it has to
what
be
they're
within-
gonna, the administration, because
has
it's
to
not our
approve
job
it.
to really
Right.
decide that.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's the administration's job to decide that part.
Sure.
And so,
I know that part of the purpose of this whole thing is to close this up.
Close it up.
So,
end
I
it.
mean, if an event here, and then two, like, we want some closure on
yes,
this.
so we have the plan, and then then the assumption will be they'll come to us, and then we will make,
The
if
final
if
approval.
there's something else that has to happen.
Okay. Yep.
I vote
Does
to
that
call
make
the
sense
question.
to the administrators?
It
Do
does.
you guys have any questions about that?
It is something, quite frankly, when the time comes, like, I will probably run it by the attorneys to make sure that our
Yeah.
liability is
Okay, that's good.
minimal.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I go back to my original question. Which is, okay, we're presented with a plan. How many students were in that class? A few hundred students? I mean, how do we make a rational judgment about whether this plan represents the majority opinion of those students? They're the ones that raise the money. It should be a majority opinion of what they want to do. And that, I'm sorry, that's almost impossible to verify.
But it's also not the school board's job.
It's not our job. So, yeah, so I'm gonna, I was gonna call the question. Can I call the question?
That's what I was going to,
I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? And opposed? 2. Okay. So we have 7 to 2. Yeah.
on the motion to end discussion.
Oh,
Or she was calling the.
I was
she called
calling the
vote.
question. Sorry. Should I do it again? Did I
That
mess
was
up?
if you're
No,
in
I mean,
favor of Josh's.
there's a, what we call the question, there's a vote to end discussion, and then we have the vote for the motion.
Okay.
Vote to vote.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
okay. End discussion. All in favor?
Have any
Now this
discussion?
is for approving
The
the last
motion.
one. we're-
No, I'm
gonna
redoing
do-
it.
okay.
I'm trying to do it the right
Correct.
way.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, practice makes perfect. Okay, now I will call the question as to whether we should rescind our prior motion. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca, can you read it, what you have? If you don't mind.
Oh, that's actually a good point.
I don't think
That
that
we
was
didn't
her.
actually, we didn't rescind the other motion.
I'm sorry, what are you asking me to read?
Can you read back the motion as far as you understood it?
She was gonna listen back.
Yeah.
Give me 1 minute. I've got a lot of notes here. So far, I have that, Josh would like to make a motion that the class of 2020 work with administrators within a certain time frame to come up with a plan to use the funds. It's a rough draft, but that's
Yeah.
what I wrote. And so if I can just say, if you are going to make a motion for that, can you please make a motion that, like, it includes rescinding the prior motion made on, and in the notes, I've
Wait a
got
minute.
those specific dates
Okay,
for you.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Chair's prerogative, we're gonna vote on the motion as to how to do the money, then we'll have another motion to rescind our prior, motion.
I think in the motion, there needs to be an end date to
Yeah,
this
fiscal
authorization.
year, we did say fiscal year, the end of fiscal year 27.
Right, that's not what Rebecca read back, so I'm just
I know, well,
clarifying that. there
she-
needs to be an end date.
the minutes too.
Okay,
And this is
great.
really important. If you rescind it, please rescind it only for this class, because the original motion was multiple classes.
Okay, so let's take care of this motion first, okay? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and opposed? 2. Okay, now, would someone like to make a
Do
motion?
we really need to rescind it? We've just moved money at that first moment. Now
Now
we've
we're
just
moving-
moved a little bit back.
moved it again.
We're not changing the fact that we had moved the other funds. I don't know
In order
why
to
we need to
rescind-
rescind.
Yeah,
In order to rescind that policy, you'd have to go through the whole,
Yeah, I
We don't
think
have
we
to
need
rescind the policy, because the policy was from 2024 on classes,
Right.
but we
Yeah.
had, we did a motion for one-time transfer of funds.
Transfer
And now we
funds.
just made another motion to take part of those funds and put them back into a
Right,
separate
because there were
account.
other
Yeah, I don't
funds
think-
in there, and those can stay in the scholarship fund. I think we're good. Okay, everybody, anybody? Okay, I think we're good. Everybody else okay? Stan, that makes sense? Cheryl? Makes sense.
Well, it might not make sense when we're doing this.
We're doing it anyway, we'll see.
Those weird times anyways.
Yes, well, I mean, that's the thing, I feel bad, but it was weird times, yeah.
And I do too, but I want to be clear that it's the class of 2020's responsibility to present me
Right.
with something, not me to chase them.
No,
or-
right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep, just want to make sure. Okay,
Okay,
There's a sunset.
yep, that's,
Right.
okay, perfect.
Okay, let me look
I know,
at the
I know, it
agenda.
was so confusing.
That was the
Financial
most.
management questionnaires.
Oh,
next.
yeah.
And Stan's here
Stan-
already.
Yeah, Stan, you're up.
This questionnaire is required by state statute. They put it in statute a few years ago that this questionnaire needs to be presented to the board every year, and the board is just to review it, ask any questions that they have. If they're fine with everything, then the board chair would sign off on it stating that it was presented and all the board members had, reviewed the questionnaire. And that was the purpose, that's the purpose of this. It's basically to show the duties, maybe the internal processes of the business office and central office, and, and to show that, we're trying our best to keep things, independent of some jobs that could, involve fraud or, embezzlement. One great thing with this district is nobody here in central office or the business office has any check writing authority. That's all done at the district treasurer, by the district treasurer or her assigned assistant. So that's a major factor in preventing any kind of fraud, since we control, what goes into our computers and all that stuff, but we can't sign checks and, authorize them to ourselves without, Denise Patch, the treasurer, approving any check that goes out of this office. We do our best in regards to, with cash, that there's one person that receives cash and checks, prepares the deposits. That person also does run it into this system, but has no part of the bank reconciliation process. That's done by a completely different individual in the office, and then I do review the final bank rec that they do. It's very tough to embezzle checks here, because most of the checks, we know what's coming. And if it doesn't come, we're either calling the state in regards to where our check is, or it's coming from the town offices. So the only area where we deal with cash is with, athletic events, meals, and with the parent fees for the after-school program and the pre-K program. But even with the pre-K and the after-school program, the billing is done on computerized systems, so we have bills in the system to match up payments, and if somebody owes money, we contact them. So there's always some way to track whether or not a payment has been misappropriated within the system. I don't know if you have any questions in regards to the questionnaire.
Has that ever happened on your watch? Anything
No,
like
the
that?
only thing that's happened on our watch is sending checks to vendors where their lock boxes might have been broken into. And people are very creative. It's amazing how creative they can get with checks and just change slightly things and change numbers, and it looks almost like a real check. But, we've had it maybe, the 15 years I've been here, we've had that happen maybe 3 times, but the bank, it's the bank's responsibility to have these, pick up any of these types of checks, and, we were reimbursed each time that did happen. So, as far as individuals within the district, no, we have never had a misappropriation of funds.
Does the yearly audit, when they do that, do they check through this type of, like, this is, you get checked on this thing by the auditor as well?
Right, they'll check, the current year, they'll check the first, if they come in September, they'll check anything that happens after the end of the year up through September to make sure nothing's, because that's a common practice within, embezzling is to, play with the years at the end of the year in regards to funds coming in or going out. So that does get checked with the audit.
How much does an audit cost?
It keeps on going up. There's a lot of, as like anything, it has a lot of regulations and more paperwork every year. So we're probably up to close to $40,000 to doing it. Unfortunately, the state requires you to do an audit once every 3 years, but we accept federal dollars. Since we accept federal dollars and we exceed the thresholds, we have to have an audit every year.
Any other questions for Stan? Any questions about the checklist? By consensus, can I sign it, or do we feel like we need a motion? He's just asking for the board chair to sign it.
I don't see one.
You don't
With
see?
no objection.
No objection? Okay. Okay.
Thanks,
I'll do
Dan.
it.
Thanks, Stan.
Thank you, Stan. All right. Committee reports. Is it okay if I just respond to Graham, comment about how are you going to get everybody involved with, I'm sorry that this is going backwards, chair's prerogative maybe. Not everybody goes to the prom. Not everybody goes to project graduation. Not everybody attends graduation. So I don't necessarily think the fact that not everybody from that class would be involved in the plan that they might come up with is that big a deal, I guess, is where I'm at.
Not
And-
everybody raised the same amount of money.
Yeah, so, anyway, I hadn't commented, but that's my comment. Probably totally out of
That's
order.
a legitimate comment. I do, however, think there's a difference between changing board policy based on a letter written by one person versus accepting a plan
Yeah,
from.
we didn't
you know,
change
not even-
policy.
Not even necessarily, majority, but let's say a significant portion of the class. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, most people disagree with my point of view on that. I thought we made a good decision about what to do with the money in the first place. But hey,
Yeah.
they want to come up with a plan that seems acceptable to the administration. That's fine with me.
Okay, just to be clear, we didn't change a policy. We just changed the decision. Okay, so we're gonna go to committees. We'll talk about it. We'll
We were applying the policy for that year.
talk about it
So we did
after.
make a change.
You and I can chew on it. We will have fun on that. Okay, let's do committee reports. Personnel.
Hey there.
And
Yeah, we met tonight. We talked a little bit, and I'll just be brief, about exit interviews and the superintendent evaluation. Those are two projects that we're kind of working on, and that's ongoing. And then I also have a couple of contracts, or a contract, to offer. It's actually a 1.0 full-time equivalency, 0.5 at Tinmouth, 0.5 at Wallingford for educational support staff for Tamara Musto.
okay,
You can,
Make that motion.
okay, that's all we need, right?
that's all we need. All in favor? Yeah, call the motion.
Okay. And then second, we have a resignation from Rebecca Raymond. And her final day will be February 20th. So it is with regret, Rebecca, that I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation.
Okay.
With great regret.
With great regret.
We have discussion?
We don't
Yes.
we don't need a second. All in favor?
She said discussion.
Oh, discussion, sorry.
Well, yeah, we won't get to see you, Rebecca, before your last day. This will be our last meeting with you, so thank you so much for helping us with so many things. You've been amazing and wishing you all the best.
Yeah.
Saved my bacon more than once, I can tell you
All
that.
right, yeah. Thanks
Make
for
them-
saving us all. Okay.
One last thing.
Wait, we gotta
gotta
vote.
vote for it.
We gotta vote to accept it.
What?
We have to accept that resignation.
Actually, I'd like to offer a comment about Rebecca's situation that it's a bit more general and I won't take long, which is that I believe that in the discussion that's occurred in Vermont about school consolidation and districts and all that kind of stuff, there's this kind of slander that goes out that administrators are overpaid and there's too many of them and they don't do much. And in fact, what we all know to be true is that administrators work really, really hard and that they are going full speed from the moment they walk in the building till the moment they go home, and that we all owe them a huge debt. And part of our jobs needs to be to communicate to the public that that is in fact a true statement. And so I'm terribly sorry to see Rebecca leaving, and because I know she is one of those people that works her tail off from start to finish. And so I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I think we voted on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I got one other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The next meeting for personnel will be March 18th at 6 PM. We have, the first meeting in March is going to be the reorganization, which is when we usually have personnel. And so we won't do that until a couple of weeks later.
Okay, thank you. Policy?
Okay, policy. Believe it or not, we don't have any policies, and I'm pretty sure that's correct. So, we haven't met since last time, and we are meeting next week on the 10th at 6 PM.
You good?
Yep.
Building and grounds.
So we had a meeting on Monday where we talked about the projects that needed updating since the last time, because it had been quite a while, but this time of year, there's not really any big projects that are happening. We talked about the new position that we put in for grounds maintenance and helped kind of clarify for the administration what some insights of how help them to develop the job description for that. So if that, we can start doing that once the vote is passed, they can put that out. We talked a little bit about if the request for extra money into the surplus fund passes, how that will be spent, mostly towards paving here in Wallingford and potentially other projects.
Can you talk about how, because it was really really good the way you described why we're going to use the money.
Oh, yeah.
For, why we're going to use the surplus money for these
so
projects.
This year is a little anomalous compared to in past years. We usually ask for somewhere between like $200,000 and $400,000 to go from our surplus into the buildings and grounds, and that money is outside of the, just for clarification of why we do it that way, why it goes into the buildings and grounds fund or the sinking fund. There's like 3 or 4 different names you can call it, but it's basically outside of the budget year, because if we had a project that we wanted to do and we put it into the actual budget, it has to happen within that fiscal year. So what the buildings fund is it still is getting monitored. It still has to be accounted for. It's not like a slush fund or anything like that. It's just that it allows for projects to be more flexible, to not happen within that exact year. So an example of that is like when we are going to redo the gym floor here, we are doing that outside of the fiscal year that we decided to vote on that, to move that project forward. So in this case, we know we have some big projects coming up. And normally, we ask for a little bit and we have a fund. You know how you said I said it gracefully? I'm doing the opposite now. I'm just trying to give the backstory of it. So that, we have these projects that we know we're going to have to do. And so we're asking for a significantly more amount this year from the surplus that we have. Normally, there's two ways that we can spend the surplus, is by either putting it into this buildings fund or giving it directly back to the voters, to the town, to the residents. This is kind of an indirect way to do that, because we're gonna have to spend this money no matter what. And it's either gonna come through a bond or through a budget mechanism. And so instead of saying we're gonna give you back another $1 million to lower your taxes, we're gonna instead take that million and not have to put it on our taxes. So you're getting a $1 million discount on your taxes indirectly, because we would have to spend that money no matter what. I said it way better in the meeting.
Yeah.
But,
that was good.
No, but it's just one of those things. It's hard. I want to just make sure everyone, because that was the hardest thing for me as a new board member, was actually to understand what buildings and grounds actually was. Mm-hmm. And it really is that management of that chunk of money. And then we happen to also, because it's just the nature of it, we talk about what's happening in the buildings and talking about what those projects are. But it's outside of the normal standard maintenance of it. And so when the voters are going to see on their ballot this a much bigger number than they're used to, it's just another way that we can avoid raising taxes with money that we've already taken, and trying to do that. Because in the big picture, we are trying to reduce our surplus to as small as amount as we can, because we currently have too large of a surplus. And so this is how we're going about refunding the taxpayers.
Thank you.
It's too late. I'm 5 o'clock. I'm much.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. I'm
I
much
hear
more
ya.
articulate.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but that was.
No, but it is.
That was good.
That is the general point, is that we are trying to be responsible with tax increases, and this is one of the ways that we can do it without raising taxes.
As your surplus increases, you're essentially just hoarding money the taxpayers have already given you.
Correct.
And we don't want to do that.
Right, and for multiple reasons. And one, through circumstances that are very hard for us to control, and partially because of COVID, the surplus is larger than it has historically been. And because of the challenges of hiring, especially in special education, we have had higher surpluses on average, that we would love to fill positions. And this year, we actually have most of those positions filled. So you would expect that we'll have less of a surplus. It's also like a very cold winter, so I bet you our fuel budget is going to be over what we budgeted. So the past couple of years, it's been warm, so that money goes back in. So I think as the buildings and grounds, who's also finance, we tried to work out the best way to use that surplus and get it down. And our next meeting is the 30th at March 30th at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Community engagement, Sarah? No, do you have a report? You don't have a report, do you?
Yeah, I'm here. So we haven't had a meeting for quite some time. We don't have a meeting planned, but if a important topic comes up that requires us to do it, we'll make a plan to have one.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Evaluation. That committee will meet February 26th prior to the annual meeting. We're working on a evaluation survey to get feedback, and that's under construction.
And that will be in this room, hybrid.
Yes, it will be here, it will be hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, finance, pay orders. I think I have them. You do. You want to do pay orders?
Yeah, I
Why
have the
not?
problem where I read numbers incorrectly.
Oh, okay. Ned can, we don't want the numbers correctly. Thank you, Ned.
The accounts payable warrant. for a total of $126,742.78. I don't remember everything I'm supposed to say.
So you do that one, and then you can do that one separately.
Oh, and then a student activity fund of $1,121.12.
And then we can make a motion to accept that.
Make that motion?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to accept those accounts payable warrants.
Okay, is there a second? Rich seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And I will now also move that we approve the payroll warrants at a total of $668,596.01.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Transact other legal business. Does anybody have anything they would like to talk to the board? David?
Yeah, it got mentioned last board meeting about our student rep. There's a bill in the legislature that would allow the student rep to vote, and I looked at that bill, and it's really a lot more than that. It's about having a rep from each class and having a vote. It seemed a little over the top. And but I talked with Carol a little bit about it, and she suggested that I should look at the school bylaws to see what they say about it. And I did that. It turned out to be nothing. So it's not mentioned in there. And I didn't even know how they chose of course, I'm new here. I didn't know how they chose the student rep. Turns out the student rep is a volunteer at present. And I thought this might be worth a discussion at a future meeting to formalize maybe in our bylaws to show how the school rep is chosen. I think there's probably a better way than just having a person volunteer, and have it considered that they shall maybe have a vote along with our own. I think not only is the student rep here to tell us what's going on in the school, but we're an educational institution, and I think that the student rep has a chance to grow by their presence here, and I think that could be enhanced maybe by giving them a chance to vote. But that's something everybody has to think about for themselves, but I think that's something you might want to put on the agenda for next time.
Or the time after.
Or the time after, whenever you want to do it.
There's
No hurry.
There's also, if you go to the Vermont School Boards Association website, there's a whole section on student representation, which we have used in the past. So there's that.
Okay, yeah. And I've shared that actually with Addie.
Yeah.
And a goal is to sit with her and kind of figure out just some criteria like David's talking
Yeah.
about. So that's on the round two pile. All right.
I got one more thing if I could.
Oh, yes, please.
I don't know if everybody is aware, but there's now a part of the website for the 50th anniversary, which you can click on and provide information if you so wish. You can also purchase 50th anniversary t-shirts and sweatshirts.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
Good price, too.
Yes, and they're nice
Very
looking.
good, yes.
They really are. The date for that is June 6th. I just wanted to remind folks of that. And again, we're still working to try to get things rocking and rolling here, but we're hoping to do a filming in the school with PEG TV during February break as sort of a historical perspective. So we're working on it.
Thank you for doing that.
Well, I'm not alone.
I know, but it takes somebody to be, you know, we were talking about it, 2 years ago, we started talking about it, and it was, I'm glad that you're there to help.
Thanks.
It's the key, because it does take, you need a catalyst for these things to actually happen.
Takes a lot of,
Do you want to help?
So 2020.
Class 82 there, right?
25.
They already have.
Ah, nice.
And then first,
Three, oh,
yeah,
They helped purchase
Oh, yeah,
a
they're
full-page
upside
ad in the Rutland Herald way back at the
3-7,
beginning.
right?
Oh,
Is that a
Three-
special meeting?
3-5 right here.
Oh, okay.
All right. Oh, those are the minutes. We
No.
want the agenda.
Before we were-
Play with
Yeah,
your,
yeah.
all right, sorry.
Then I will add one thing too. I'm kind of late to the party, but I realized earlier today that it is Board Appreciation Month. And so I do want to thank you guys for your work. Next year I'll be more organized and, perhaps show my appreciation. But I do want to say thank you very much. I know it's not easy to sit here and make decisions that impact people's lives. And I think you guys, the entire board, I think you guys do a nice job of looking at all perspectives and making the best decision that you can. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to get the board agenda from last year so I know, because okay, so first of all, I am not planning on having a meeting the next time because we have our annual meeting, so I hope you all will show up.
So our next meeting will be reorg.
Yes, so I'm trying to open this, but I can't for some reason, because I have to, double click, there we go. So in terms of reorg, we will, this is not it, Wednesday, March 5th, yeah,
Yeah, and I actually remember watching
Oh.
this. You went over.
Okay, yeah, we'll go over the reorg checklist, which involves voting for a chair and a vice chair and a clerk. And then we'll look at committee. So if you have any committees that you're on, that you would rather be on a different committee, or a committee you would really like to be on that you're not on, keep that in mind. I'm not sure how Brian did that or how it was done before. I know the chair makes the final assignments, but I'm obviously gonna.
We've kind of been, over the past few years, we kind of were adjusting it. Originally, it was always like, hey, you should probably have a decent spread of members in each
From
town.
each town, yeah.
And then when I used to be on more, because I was the only Tinmouth person.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and it's kind of, it's always kind of been, if you're already on it, you kind of have a say, but I don't think that has to be true,
Yeah. I don't know, I want to honor people who might feel that they have, an interest or a skill that might be good for a particular committee. So anyway, I just want to put that out there.
And is that all we do, is the reorg?
Well,
And go over things,
Yeah,
but
there's
like
not
there's
much
no
time to
other.
give any-
Oh.
yeah,
There's
that
not that
really
much
does
time.
take, it says, actually, one of the other things from a year ago was going over Robert's rules and open meeting law, but we already did that, so.
What about code of ethics?
And the code of ethics.
Yeah.
We do the code of ethics and we actually have you sign, right? There's a
Yeah,
sign.
I mean, it's a signable form,
Yeah.
which you can either,
You
take
can
home
do-
or nothing. But it's just, hey, this is a thing that we have all agreed to do, and it's an important thing
Did
to
you
remember.
say something?
Okay, so I think, executive session. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel matter.
So moved?
And second,
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Thank you. Good night, you guys.
Okay.
And then do another one
And-
to invite me.
Okay, all right, and I make a motion to go into executive session and invite
No,
Cheryl.
we'll be leaving.
Do you need, sorry? Oh, yeah, you need a motion to go into executive session.
Executive session and invite Cheryl.
So moved with the invitation to Cheryl
Yep.
extended.
Yep, okay, so you moved, you seconded, Any discussion, all in favor? Oh, you
I
had
just-
discussion?
Well, I just, I'm confused. I thought did we have to do at the start of the meeting if you need an executive session?
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, there was
Oh, it was?
there's a
I
revised
missed it.
agenda that came out.
Oh, that was my bad. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. No, that's
No prob-
okay.
I mean, it's a good, you
Hey,
gotta,
call it. We need you to call it.
do we think there's gonna be action afterwards?
No.
No,